It's Wednesday, the 27th of November, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1 is a big one. Donald Trump has upended global trade rules even before taking office, saying he will impose a 25% tariff on all products from Mexico and Canada on his first day in office, and another 10% on goods from China.
Very aggressive comments aimed at the US's neighbours and in Canada, his closest ally. Donald Trump cited concerns over illegal immigration in the case of Mexico and illicit drugs in the case of Canada and China. He said he'll sign the first executive order on all products coming into the US. He put that on Truth Social, his social media platform, and of course he put caps on all products. Tariffs remain until the countries clamp down on drugs, especially fentanyl, and migrants stop crossing the border illegally, Mr. Trump said. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that's claimed the lives of about 75,000 Americans each year. He attacked China for not carrying out the death penalty for people dealing in fentanyl. Now, while some say Donald Trump's tweets are part of a negotiating position he's establishing ahead of becoming president, they're certainly very aggressive enough to scare investors. The US dollar surged, pushing the Aussie dollar back towards 64 US cents. That's the weakest level in 4 years, though it did rebound a bit yesterday. Copper and base metals, which tend to rise and fall in line with expected future economic growth, they all fell. Slapping tariffs will push up inflation. Therefore, bond yields jumped, higher interest rates. The Canadian dollar hit its lowest level since 2020. The Mexican peso tumbled. Even Bitcoin went backwards, down 6% in 3 sessions now. They're still worth more than 94,000 US dollars a unit. Gold prices bounced.
And just as an example of how Australia is being drawn into this, Sean, in Australia, we had China's ambassador in Canberra, Xiao Chen, speaking after the Trump tweet, and he was saying that US trade policy is an important element in Australia's relationship with the US.
It just shows the wide-ranging ramifications of what Donald Trump is proposing. Treasurer Jim Chalmers urged calm, saying the incoming US administration will bring different policies. He's confident Australia can navigate those changes. We'll see, Michael, we'll see.
Indeed, we will. All right, moving on to story number 2. Parliament is in full swing, but one bill that's unlikely to be passed this week, and possibly not actually even before the next election, is legislation to increase the earnings tax on superannuation accounts worth more than $3 million.
Finance Minister Katie Gallagher conceded it was a big ask, doesn't have the support of the opposition of the crossbenchers, a very big ask. She said it still remains Labor policy, even though the government hasn't been able to negotiate it through the crossbenchers. The social media ban legislation will pass, although a couple of Nats yesterday spoke against it, as did some independents. Laws funding public schools, about $16 billion worth there, $3.6 billion for wage increases for childcare workers that they were set to pass. And the Greens back down in their fight against the government's help to buy and build to rent housing schemes. Big win for the government. Both pieces of legislation, which were election promises, passed the Senate yesterday.
Story number 3, tech giant Google has backed Australia Connect, which is a connectivity project that will build 2 new subsea cables between mainland capital cities and Christmas Island.
The first cable will run between Darwin and Christmas Island, while a second one will link Melbourne to Perth and onto Christmas Island and Singapore, according to the Sydney Morning Herald. Subsea cable technology is deployed across thousands of kilometres of ocean floor, carries most of the world's internet traffic. Google has formed a consortium to build the project. It includes data centre provider NextDC, Vocus, the telco group, state governments, a few others. Communications Minister Michelle Rowland yesterday said the cables will expand in strength, not just digital connectivity inside of Australia, but in the Pacific as well. Really important, this infrastructure. Remember last week we were talking about a 1,200 kilometre cable between Finland and Germany being sabotaged. It really makes the digital connectivity of a country work.
On to story number 4 now, Sean. US President Joe Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron are expected to announce a ceasefire in Lebanon between armed group Hezbollah and Israel imminently, according to a report on Reuters.
We get up early for this show, so it could even have happened by now, Michael, or be happening right now. In Washington, White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said we're close, but nothing's done until it's done. The French presidency said discussions on a ceasefire had made significant progress. In Jerusalem, a senior Israeli official said Israel's cabinet would meet overnight to approve a truce deal with Hezbollah. Signs of diplomatic breakthrough were accompanied, though, by heavy Israeli airstrikes on Beirut's Hezbollah-controlled southern suburbs as Israel pressed on with the offensive it launched in September after almost a year of cross-border hostilities.
And last one, story number 5, General Motors has taken a major step towards competing in Formula One car racing under its Cadillac brand as the sport expands quickly in the US.
F1 said it had reached an agreement in principle with the US car maker, under which Cadillac will become the 11th team on the series grid from 2026. Big breakthrough in the talks between the two sides. Under Liberty Media, which has owned F1 since 2017, the sport's expanded in the US. New races in Miami and Las Vegas. Las Vegas was last weekend. GM's plan to join F1 highlights its attractiveness not only as teams have soared in value due to the growth of the sport, but also because of limits placed on how much they can spend on developing cars, thereby protecting shareholders. That's the theory. General Motors President Mark Russe said it was an honour to join F1 and described the sport as a global stage to showcase engineering expertise and technology leadership at an entirely new level.
All right, there we go, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Wednesday, the 27th of November, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.